Good day, everybody. Today I'm talking to Segun Omisakin, who is a co-founder of DevFund. Good day, Segun. How are you?
I'm good. Good day. How are you too?
Good. Thank you, Segun. And thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, thank you for inviting me as well. It's my pleasure to be here. We appreciate it a lot.
Thank you, Segun. And Segun, are you happy for me to move into our first question?
Yes, very much. Please.
Segun, can you please share a little about yourself, the place you were born, your education, your passion, the things that you enjoy doing, and one thing that the public might not know about you?
My name is Segun, and I was born in Nigeria, southwest of Nigeria in particular, because Nigeria is north, southwest. And I had a background in thorough science. My secondary school education was in science, and my bachelor's degree was in core engineering, mechanical engineering, and also my second degree, also in manufacturing major. That was in Scotland, in the UK, and I've had different training here and there as far as engineering is concerned. And my hobby in particular, or things that I like, is tech, art, nature, environment, and outing majorly. I enjoyed bushwalking, mountaineering, singing. I have one or two singles out there on the YouTube. You can check it out with my name, Segun Omisakin, and you see. But majorly is a gospel song.
Good on you, Segun. Thank you so much for sharing that. And definitely, I think I have to check out that song for sure. And Segun, moving on to our next question. So can you please share about your work experiences before you started DevFund? And what lessons have you brought forth from your previous work experiences into DevFund?
I started as a core project engineer with a construction company. That was my first job when I graduated. And then I moved over to core process engineering with Care Motors. I was one of the first set of engineers with Care when they moved to Nigeria, capture that market. So my job was majorly to optimize production, making sure that there are little downtime, increasing turnover and efficiency in our production process for over 100%. Yeah, we're turning out, that's the kind of things I was doing, managing process, and importantly, safety in production of cars. And then it got to a point I was a bit, not challenged enough. I don't want to say bored, but I just felt that my job was becoming more autonomous and I was not enjoying it again. So I went for my master's degree. And after that, I started consulting for small enterprise businesses in the UK. And in fact, one of them has gone on to become a very successful company. So when I moved back to Africa, my master's degree dissertation and my job in the UK really influenced what I was doing in Nigeria, consulting for small enterprise businesses on product management, software development, and of course, program management. And that has influenced me going forward when we're starting DevFund, because it's important to be able to manage operations and process together. And so my background, I think it has a way to influence that, especially when you run a company that is remote and distributed. You want to make sure that everything works well, because communication, trust, and a lot of things, it goes hand in hand with that. So I've been able to bring that forward to DevFund because we're trying to run something called Open Strategy. It's a broad base of where people with like-minded goals comes together to pursue certain goals, and the choice or the power to do so is not held by one person, but distributed, so that if you have a particular mind to work on a project, for instance, DevFund is a technical development funding for entrepreneurs that have ideas but does not have technical background. Or maybe you have technical background, you don't have enough support to bring the ideas to life. You come to DevFund and we evaluate your project and we feel that it's good enough for us. Then we share with our top team and they say, oh, I like this project, I want to work on it. And then they join you as a team, and that is it.
Excellent, Segun. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Segun, moving on to our next question. So can you please tell me, when did you start DevFund and what was the inspiration behind this entrepreneurial venture?
DevFund idea started in 2017, but we officially launched in Australia here this last quarter in 2020. And the inspiration behind it, like I said, is because there are many people with great, powerful ideas, but they don't know how to bring it to life, especially technical ideas, IT ideas in particular, that require software engineering. And so we want to fill that gap for those engineers. We understand that these days, there are many people take their ideas to freelance platforms. Obviously, if you have a new idea, it's very important that you're able to work on it, of course, and be part of it. When you are grown enough, you can outsource some part of it. But starting the base of it is for an entrepreneur, you have to have a skin in the game, understand what you're trying to make, and know how the process works. So that's where DevFund comes in place. It's not a freelance platform where you say, I want to do this, and then I have $1,000 to do it, and then you look for people to do. And one thing that is very cogent again is that when you're building software product, you have to think about what you're building right now, because everything is competitive. And I have to be very open with you. There are no new ideas anywhere. You can innovate on ideas or something that is already out there, but creating something from scratch, it's going to be in the 0.00% of ideas. So, and to do that, it means that you already have competition out there for whatever you're thinking of. And to do better than them, you better have a game to play. And that's where DevFund comes in. We have top leading engineers that work with top companies across the world, like SalesRabbit, like Develon, like OnePipe.io. We have a variety of engineers that work for us, and they are senior software engineers that are able and ready to support an entrepreneur's ideas. So it means that when you bring an idea to us and we evaluate it and we accept it, the people that are going to be working with you are A stars. A stars. You don't need 20 people to work a software project, but if you have quality, even if it's 3 people working with you, you bring out your ideas, your minimum viable product to life in record time. So that's the gap we're feeding, and that's why we started DevFund, to support entrepreneurs that does not necessarily know how to bring their ideas to life, or that they know, but they need top people to work with. And if you've looked to our website, you notice that there are processes to get there, and there are things, our requirements and all those. For instance, we don't take more than 10% of equity to allow an entrepreneur to have basic hold on their ideas. And importantly, we often require an entrepreneur to just fund that idea for 25% of the cost, so that they can have skin in the game and, of course, know that this is my idea, because we want your passion. When you come to us, we want you to be passionate enough to stay by it. We don't want to waste anybody's time or resources or our resources. So we want the value shared to be symbiotic. That's basically the vision behind DevFund.
Excellent. Segun, thank you so much for sharing that. And Segun, touching on the points you just shared, so I'm just going to, read out what the idea I got about DevFund. So I think the business idea behind DevFund makes economic sense to an entrepreneur in Australia. That is the idea of DevFund becoming an interim on-demand CTO by looking after the technological development side of a business. From what I read, and as you just mentioned, taking between 7 to 10% ownership of the business or equity. I also think that the fact that the entrepreneurs have to contribute 25% of the technology or product development cost to make sure that they have their skin in the game, I think it's a good strategy. So what has the response been, from people you've talked to about this idea?
Well, the response has been varied from individuals to individual, especially when it comes to area of intellectual property. Like, for instance, some even told us that they want to finance their idea in full. Like, they want to pay for it 100%, thinking maybe if they do that, they own their IP. But we have to clarify, sorry, we're not taking your IP as an entrepreneur. What DevFund wants to be is to be part of your journey. We're not going to develop your MVP and just let you be or leave you, or we're not freelance website where they develop your MVP for you and they just say, oh, sorry, this is your project, have it. Because unfortunately, in software development, it is an agile process. Majority of the time, it's never finishing, right? When you have a software idea, it's different from. That's why in software development, we don't use waterfall process in managing project like the way it's done in maybe construction, manufacturing, where you have a budget, you have an end goal, and you have to achieve that project at that time. For software development, it's very agile. Things changes, requirement may vary. There might be something that just come up that need quick fixing and all those kind of things. So it's important you have people that are able to want to be part of the journey with you, not leaving you be. And that's where the interim on-demand CTO comes from. We want to help you manage your process, technical wise. We want to be able to focus on the business aspect of things, sales, getting the customers, not having to worry about, oh, there's a bug in my app. How do I do it? We have to go and type it again. Sorry, I developed a software idea, and fortunately, there's a bug in our software. We need someone to fix it for us. So those are the kind of gap that DevFund is filling. And since we launched in the last quarter, a couple of months ago, we've talked to different leading incubators in Australia, for instance, that we are hoping to partner with and support their entrepreneurs, especially in terms of their software development. That's for people that have projects that need core technical support. And also, we have spoken with a couple of individuals that are really, really interested. And I can tell you, we receive lots and lots of submission on our platform that we are constantly evaluating right now. And we're making sure we have all the legal things that are required to be put in place to support entrepreneurs here in Australia And I'm the leading face here in Australia. So I'm here to stay, and we want to support as many people that entrepreneurship idea to achieving their goals. And one of the projects we're currently working on right now that is in market right now is Kinetic App, as you can see. And it's rapidly being developed. The MVP is currently out. There's about 3 companies on it already in private beta. And there are over 400 companies in pipeline to support. So it means that you could grow an idea to a stage where you have enough customer base to support your product. And if you want to raise funding, then we can talk about that. It's part of the things that we're currently considering with respect to DevFund.
Excellent. I think that's good to know, Segun, you are in the process of accepting, or you probably have already received a lot of applications from entrepreneurs from within Australia, and you're in the process of going through those applications and considering what is the best ideas out there that you can actually work with, you know what I mean? And that's good to know. And Segun, moving on to our next question, and I think some parts of the next question you've touched on through your previous answers. So I think some concerns that entrepreneurs might have with the above model would be intellectual property right, and trying to communicate the idea solution for the Australian market to an overseas based technical team. And I think the underlying factor might also be trust. So how do you help entrepreneurs to overcome these challenges?
Yes. We definitely help entrepreneurs to overcome the challenge of IP in particular, because from the base, when you apply to DevFund, when you are filling the application form, you will see our internal system already automate that process for you. That shows you that your IP belongs to you as an entrepreneur. And because we work distributed team, everybody on DevFund, the engineers, they are bound legally to non-compete. It means that if they work on your idea for a certain period of time, minimum of 12 months post working on an idea, they can't do anything around that area or starting that product themselves, all right? They cannot start a project like that. So they are not competing with you. They are here to support you. That's the goal around DevFund, to support you in bringing your project ideas to life. So number one, the IP belongs to the entrepreneur, does not belong to their fund, does not belong to any engineers that work with them. The IP belongs to the company that own it, which is the entrepreneur, of course, by the time they incorporate their companies. And also we have internal tools that manage production process and make sure that your IP stay with you. For instance, development, server, majority of your codes will be with you. That's part of the reason why we want an entrepreneur to fund 25% of the cost, because part of the cost that goes into software development is data cost, basically server cost. And so when you operate your server, any code that is written by the engineers are managed by you internally. It is owned by you. It is controlled by you as an entrepreneur. So that should give you a rest of mind that they're not just going to quit on me and steal away all the works that we've been doing. So eventually your idea belongs to you in your vault. You're going to have DevOps that work with you if you don't know around, if you don't really know much about setting up server or optimizing server. But we're going to be doing that for you. But the project, the account, everything around it belongs to an entrepreneur. That's basically the way we are mitigating against that. And definitely we pursue it actively, because the people that works with us and that will be working with you, they are core, thoroughbred professional, and they understand the way things work in the big sense. Majority of them have worked on big, massive projects. And I've mentioned it, just like OnePipe.io, that's one of the leading fintech company. There's SalesRabbit, one of the leading, of course, Salesforce company in the US. Like that, some are based in Germany working on top project, on banking projects. So they understand the legality that is required to make sure that things work in the right process. And the trust is a matter of communication and, of course, the legal requirement or agreement that will be signed between the entrepreneurs and the people working in projects and DevFund.
Excellent. Thank you, Segun, for sharing that. And Segun, moving on to a more somber note. So has the current COVID-19 pandemic affected DevFund's goals? And if it has, how have you overcome the challenges that has been brought forth?
Although the COVID has not affected us internally in terms of our operation-wise, but for instance, we're pursuing a sort of partnership agreement with some of many incubation house in South Australia, Innovation Hub. That process, I was supposed to travel to Adelaide, for instance, to have a sort of face-to-face meeting with some of these companies, but we can't do that. And so things are a bit slow in that regards, and for me, that kind of deep sense of, call it communication, but all signing that MOU, literally. So that's just the major part. In terms of internal operations and the way things work, we run distributed team, so we've not been majorly affected in that regard. And because we are putting everything in place to make sure that we satisfy our Australian customers and markets, which is growing on steadily, we've not been majorly disturbed in that regard as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Segun. Thank you for sharing that. And Segun, moving on to our next question. So moving forward, what are your plans for DevFund?
So moving forward, our plan, because we understand that it's important. Ideas are built rapidly. We have it when it's burning, when that passion is burning. It's very important to be able to do that. And unfortunately, part of the things that could limit that is software development really costly. And everybody's aware that high-level software engineers are very competitive to find. Even leading companies like Google, Facebook, they still compete a lot to find those talent, like to capture them. And part of the things that DevFund is solving for entrepreneurs is to get them A-list software engineers across the world, distributed across the world. So, and to do that, it requires a lot of convincing and cost. So we're looking at actually raising a part of DevFund that focus on pre-seed and seed funding. So we're currently talking with our network of people that really want to invest in Australian companies, startups. So it means that even though you don't have the 25% cost at the beginning, if we evaluate you to be competitive enough, we might be able to support you in that regard. But that's in pipeline. It's not currently available right now, but that's in pipeline. But for now, we want to support entrepreneurs in Australia with A-list engineers, product manager, everything required to build a software product that you might not necessarily have access to as an entrepreneur. We want to bridge that gap for you, where you know that the people working with me are sound and they know how to build software architecture, how to mix and comes to life. For instance, I'll give an example. You cannot just build software anyhow these days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 bad reviews could affect you for the rest of your product life. And you don't want to fall into that. And part of the reason that happens because many software products are just built for building sake. And unfortunately, you don't want to try that in 21st century, where brand management really matters. So we're going to be working with an entrepreneur around brand management, around product management, software development. And we know that it's not going to be easy for an entrepreneur with basic idea who does not know how to do that. So we want to fill that gap for them here in Australia.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Segun, for sharing that. And Segun, moving on to our last question. So what are the life and business lessons that you would like to share with someone who is planning to start a business or venture in Australia?
Number one thing I'll say is you have to be very open to, as a person, especially you have to be open to talking to people about your ideas, because the more you talk about your ideas, the better it get refined. And you have to network a lot. For instance, part of my experience is working with OCG, one of the leading consulting companies distributed in the world. I joined them through someone made a post on LinkedIn about starting OCG. And I thought, oh, wow, I think I would love to be part of this. And then I reached out and that's the way it came to life. I will give you another example. One of the core companies that we're currently working with respect to Kinetic App is one of the leading program consulting company in Africa. And we were able to have that relationship with them by reaching out to them on LinkedIn before we had face-to-face meeting and we figure everything together and it worked. So an entrepreneur in Australia has to be ready to network a lot, not be afraid to talk about ideas, because at the end of the day, ideas is idea. If you don't use it, if you don't implement it, it's nothing, it's a waste. And implementation is what matters. Many people can have the same ideas, like there's Uber, there's Didi, there are different multi-car companies in Australia, for instance. The market is there for everybody. So don't be afraid someone is going to steal your idea. Talk to people. Even if they steal your idea, they're not going to implement it the way you want to implement it. And that's why you have to be passionate about your ideas. And you just have to keep talking to people about it. That's how you get your customers. That's how you get introduced to people that will help you. And that's how you get introduced to people that work with you. For instance, professionals in Australia, they know their job. They know their jobs very well. For instance, if you need a lawyer or you need accountants, they understand where you can get R&D funding for your idea. For instance, if you want to build minimum viable product and you don't have the money, I think, for instance, in New South Wales, the government supports you with $25,000 to build your MVP. So you need to talk to people that understand how the process works. And so basically, I'll say be open to suggestions, be open to talking to people and network a lot.
Excellent, Segun. Thank you so much for sharing those insights, on the points we shared. So I think it's very interesting to see your journey. So right from Nigeria, when you started with your engineering degree and then you went to the UK, you did your project management and you worked with some global companies, so all that experience, and then you're coming to Australia and then starting DevFund, this opportunity that you identified in Australia, because I think in Australia, if you want to have a software developer on your team, it's a very expensive process, unless and until probably, that person is a co-founder with you. So I think it makes economic sense for businesses in Australia or entrepreneurs in Australia probably to outsource. But I think, if you can help them to overcome the challenges of building that trust, especially in the area of intellectual property rights and making sure that their idea is actually well looked after, and, you are giving them a team that is, 100% with them on that journey, I think you would be able to build a lot of bridges. And I think the things that you also shared, for entrepreneurs, that they should network, and bounce ideas of other people. Because as you said, an idea is good, but unless and until you implement it, it's just not worth anything. So, you have to be bold enough to explore opportunities and avenues and, take those initial steps, I think, to test your idea. And I think what you can do in that space is basically sharing that idea to people out there. It could be your potential customers, or it could be, in incubation spaces or other entrepreneurs, and see what they, the feedback they give. And I think that would help you to better understand, the problems you're trying to solve, or even better, design your products for the market. So thank you so much, Segun, for sharing all these insights with us. I wish you the very best with DevFund, and thank you again for your time.
Thank you very much, Tony. It was a pleasure.